Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on weird and true mysterious stories, from glitches to the paranormal. Case file number 1611, written by Marnet. The London Step Through Spacetime. This happened while me and my dad were looking for a parking spot at a train station in London. We couldn't find any spaces and were just driving around in circles. Eventually, someone came out of the train station and walked towards a car. He looked up for a quick second, and we made eye contact. We drove around again, and we saw him standing in the middle of the parking lot. And then he was suddenly gone. He didn't get into any car, and there was nowhere he could have gone. Even if he had run or walked away, we would have seen him. My dad got out of the car as he was confused that the person just vanished. He walked to where the person was standing and looked around the area, but he just wasn't there. In the blink of an eye, he just vanished. My dad even said to me, "Please tell me you saw him too, so I'm not the only one who just saw him vanish." In the blink of an eye, he was just gone. Case answer file 1611. The London Step Through Spacetime. The question to ask in situations like this is, was the man even real? Was he a conjuration of your own mind? Was he a figment, an imprint from a different universe? Or was he just reset back in spacetime? There was a story I recall a little while back, maybe a year actually, damn, time passes fast, where this man was going on his evening walk in his local neighborhood. It was residential, not commercial, just walking on the sidewalk. And he was taking step by step, and as he described it, in one of those steps, he simply stepped into his dining room where he was seated and eating dinner. And from his perspective, it was literally seamless. There was no skip, there was no blink out of existence, it was just like that. Now there are theories that are medical related, but in those cases, he wouldn't have functioned normally to the extent of having conversations with his wife and child. So what caused the memory block? And that is what really excites my imagination. When it comes to these events where people are ported around the world or reset in some form, what is it like from their perspective? Is it always like a memory wipe? They don't remember anything? Maybe. Probably in reality, you just take one step and you're in a different place, a different spot in time. And having lived through it all, somehow the puzzle pieces of reality fall into place to make that fit. Maybe a new universe entirely, but not really related to quantum immortality. I mean, space-time portals, maybe they connect to different universes too. It doesn't have to be limited to this universe, we know that. The multiverse is reality. I mean, as far as I can tell, that is the greatest approximation of reality, at least on the base layer. There isn't just one universe, which kind of breaks the meaning of the word universe, which means everything there could possibly be. Everything there could possibly be within a certain region of space-time, or even empty, complete oblivion space. Like the multiverse ocean, there's nothing there. It's a pure void, not even time. So separate those, and that's how you get different universes. In the great multiverse ocean. Case file number 1612, written by Annie Lutu. My border collie, a veritable Houdini. Today I may have experienced a glitch in the matrix while walking my dogs. One of my dogs, a border collie, sometimes pulls on her walks. Because of this, she is always walking in a harness. It goes over her head, wraps under her chest, and clips closed on both sides of her body behind her front legs. It fits very snugly on her. My border collie is walking on a 6-foot leash, attached to the harness. There is no way she can easily come out of the harness when she pulls or when standing still. The only way it may be possible for her to get out of it is if she backs away from you, while she is looking at you with significant force. And at the time when you put the leash towards yourself, i.e. like playing tug-of-war with your dog, in this extreme case the harness could potentially pull over her head. Anyway, today it was raining lightly. No other people or dogs were around. Both of my dogs were relaxed, sniffing along a fence after walking for about 1.5 kilometers. As I said, she was relaxed. The leash was slack, and she was about 4 feet from me. When she finished sniffing a particular spot, she turned around 90 degrees towards me and popped the harness on the ground next to her. It was all clipped together and still in the shape of her body. The only difference was that she was not in the harness. I was not talking on my phone or looking at the screen or daydreaming. I was just looking at the dogs to make sure they didn't pick up and eat any crap off the ground, as my dog sometimes does. It was like I blinked and she was out of the harness. I'm not a big Matrix believer, but thinking back on this event, The blink I experienced just before she popped out of the harness seemed to be more significant than a typical eye blink that lasts a microsecond. It was not a long blink, but for some reason my brain keeps thinking back to that blink, which seemed different. I keep wanting to describe it as a thicker and darker blink. Hard to understand and explain. Anyway, do you think this could be a glitch in the Matrix, or am I just losing my mind? Patreon time. If you'd like to support me and get some awesome content, go over and check it out. Link is in the description. Now onto the case notes. Case notes are file 1612. My border collie? A veritable Houdini. You are not losing your mind at all. We had a similar story to this not long ago, couple months, and I just love when stories interconnect like this, like puzzle pieces in the universe. One more piece, eventually we get the full picture. Although it might take a million pieces, I don't know. We'll get there as long as I can achieve immortality. I'm working on it. So the person was walking the dog at night in like this enclosed tennis court or something like that. And they were walking the dog, he was on his harness as well. One moment they were walking, the next moment the harness is off, nowhere to be seen, and eventually found outside of the enclosed area. There is no possible way the dog detached his harness, brought it outside, then came back inside in the blink of an eye. And that is more extreme than your case, because the harness was in a place it couldn't possibly have been in. And yet still, this is a blink of an eye situation where the harness couldn't possibly have come off, you would feel it being tugged on. And I know for Mr. Ben, my German Shepherd, he's the same way. He has a harness. If he wants to pull it off, he has to face me and back away, basically, like reversing a truck. And that even then, it still takes a lot of tugging. Impossible for that to happen if it's as snug as Mr. Ben's without you realizing. And it would take longer than a second. And in the Matrix, the sign that something was changed or altered is a déjà vu moment, where something repeats right after the next. Maybe our sign is momentary blinks out of existence, where absent memory is described as the sun blinking out or sound fading, and these events are described as taking place in a half a second, split second, 2 seconds at most, the time it takes for the server to reconnect and take hold of the processing units. But maybe the simulation masters, the dungeon masters, are making a deliberate change, and it overloads the servers. Personally, I think it's literally just an error in the real world of those server clusters, the computers there processing things. It doesn't happen too frequently, but when it does happen, this is what you get. A kind of blink, a longer blink than should be. Your blinks are so fast that you don't even realize they're happening most of the time. But then this definitely goes beyond a blink. It is a total system collapse for a very small period of time. Case file number 1613, written by calculatingcaote, about my sister's soul. In 2020, me and my family moved into the house we live in today. It's a Victorian house and is fairly large, and for 6 months straight, we kept seeing my younger sister all over the house when she wasn't home. It started with my dad seeing her in her room with her legs dangling off her bed. But when he turned to ask her why she wasn't at work, she disappeared. Then on 2 separate occasions, I saw my sister walk past my studio door and go downstairs when, again, she wasn't even home. 4 months into our move, my mom was washing dishes and my sister walked past her. And when my mom asked something, my sister even replied, and mom watched her walk out into the garden only to find out she had been out all day with her friends. The weirdest experience, however, that we always talk about was when I was in my room and got a call from my parents to ask her what she wanted from the takeaway. So I come out to see her standing halfway up the stairs. I ask her what she wants from takeaway, and she doesn't even reply. So I ask again, and that's when she does reply, but behind me, from her bedroom. So I'm frozen, staring at this person looking up at me on the stairs, and I say, "Sister's name? Are you in your bedroom?" "Yeah, why?" And I just slowly walk backwards into her bedroom whilst keeping an eye on the person on the stairs, who now is slowly fading. I close the door and my sister sees I'm freaked out, and when we open the door again, nobody's there. It happened at twilight, so I like to think it was just a fading sun playing tricks on me. But honestly, I remember looking at them so clearly and seeing detail on their face. I even remember how they stopped moving and stood still when I talked to them. The memory still makes me feel on edge when I pass that area. Nothing has happened for almost 4 years though, and it's the only odd experience I've had with paranormal stuff. Still, I yearn for some kind of explanation or to know others have experienced the same thing. Case notes of file 1613, about my sister's soul. good old wholesome astral projection. But can we all astrally project? I think that is the most pertinent question, and I do think so, at least in theory. We all have a soul, and to astrally project is simply to decouple a part of it, at least. But there does appear to be a mental component required to achieve this. A way that your mind is attuned to your soul's frequency, to resonate enough with it, to send it out into the material world. Almost like disengaging the magnetic confinement of antimatter, or any kind of matter. It is a field you can't directly observe, and we have no way to directly test it right now. But if it's anything like magnetic fields, they take a lot of energy to change or alter. And so yeah, does this ability stem from some random genetic mutation? Now time for the quote of the day. Every day I remind myself that my inner and outer life are based on the labors of other men, living and dead, and that I must exert myself in order to give in the same measures I have received and am still receiving. Albert Einstein. I think this quote is expanding on the statement of, I stand on the shoulders of giants. And yeah, in industry and science, that's all true. But even in the mundane world, everything your ancestors did, to the point where they died, mattered to your life. Your story couldn't have happened otherwise. From the lowly janitor all the way to the greatest scientist, everyone contributed, and you are contributing right now. So never feel unimportant. Your life matters. Like the video, subscribe, hit the bell. Kinetic Symphony signing off.